Hello everybody and welcome back to PokeStuff episode 6, where today we're going to be talking about my tournament experience at the SoCal Winter Regionals. So I know this should have been out way long ago, but unfortunately after Regionals I did get sick and was unable to make this. But now that I'm getting better, I can finally do this tournament report, and hopefully it's not too late and you guys will still enjoy it. So today I'll be doing my tournament report at the SoCal Winter Regionals, which happened in Long Beach, California. Of course, I played in the senior division, if you guys already do not know. If you guys don't, now you do. I played in the senior division, and this tournament was actually a lot of fun. I got to see a whole bunch of friends that I have not seen in quite a while now, so it was fun hanging out with them all day and playing Pokemon. So for this tournament, I decided to run Darkrai Garbodor. If you guys have been with me long enough, you guys know that I love Garbodor decks. Back then, I used to run Big Basics Garbodor, but ever since Virizion Genesect came out, I just couldn't do that anymore. And also, Keldeo was getting stronger, so that would wipe out Landorus. So I had to rely on a different attacker, and I decided to go with Darkrai, Sableye, Garbodor. Mainly because Sableye's Junk Hunt ability is really powerful. You can get back your lasers, get back your hammers, and pretty much reuse your item cards over and over again. And also, Night Spear is a really consistent attack, dealing 90 and 30 to the bench, while Landorus and Mewtwo's attack are not really that consistent. I probably won't be doing a deck review since X and Y just came out recently, and a few new cards have been added to this deck. Plus, this deck is just the regular build of Darkrai Garbodor, nothing special about it. So I'm just gonna leave the deck review out, and yeah, let's get to the report. One other thing before we get started is, if I accidentally get a name wrong for the rounds, please forgive me. It's been quite a while since this tournament happened, a few weeks ago, so I don't really remember every single name. If I accidentally put somebody else, just ignore it and everything will be just fine. So round 1, and I'm playing a mirror. So game 1, he dead draws for the first few turns and cannot get set up, while I, on the other hand, get set up by turn 3 or 4 and start Night Spearing from there, and eventually I get to knock out all his Pokemon and leave him with a lone Sableye, and he scoops. So game 2, he goes first. He starts off with a lone Trubbish and mistakenly shows me his hand, which I definitely do not recommend. So tip of the day, never show your opponent your hand. So he shows me his hand, telling me how bad it is, and he has absolutely nothing, like nothing. So I take a risk, I burn my hand down to 0 cards to get a Verbank and a Laser, and that gives him 1 turn, 1 draw to pull something good, and unfortunately the next card he top decks is of course not helpful, and he scoops the game. Okay, so on to round 2, where I'm playing Blastoise, Keldeo, Black Kyurem. So game 1, we both get set up fairly quickly. Unfortunately, he does not run more than 2 Tool Scrappers, so I got the lock pretty easily, and there's nothing he can do about it, and I eventually Night Spear for the game. So game 2, pretty much the same thing happened, except during the middle of the game, he had a ton of energy in his hand, and he eventually drew his Tool Scrapper, got rid of my tools, and plopped a ton of energy onto the field. He powered up maybe 4 Black Kyurems. Black Kyurem is actually his main attacker, so I'm pretty sure he runs 4 of them, if I can remember correctly. So he runs 4 Black Kyurem, Tool Scrapper powers all of them up, and he starts Black Ballista-ing, but eventually I get the lock up again, and my Crushing Hammers discards his Lightning, and I eventually Night Spear and can take the game again. But it was still really close, too close for comfort. Okay, so 2-0 and on to round 3, where I'm playing Big Basics Garbodor. So at first I get a little bit worried because of Landorus, but then I realized if I don't allow her to get the big attack off, Land's Judgment, then I should be fine. So pretty much this is how it went. If she would Hammerhead me for 60, I would return a Night Spear for 90, and the trade-off wouldn't really be worth it, 60 for 90, because 2 times 90 knocks out Landorus, and 2 times 60 does not knock out Darkrai. Yes, Darkrai was weak to Landorus, but with Darkrai's attack dealing so much more damage than Landorus, and with the help of lasers keeping Landorus asleep, I was able to take both games 1 and 2 in a quick sweep. So 3-0 and on to round 4, where I'm playing Darkrai Sableye. Straight Darkrai, no Garbodor. And game 1, we both set up fairly slowly, we both dead draw a little bit. At 1 turn, I needed energy to take control of the game, but I missed it off of an end of 6. And he was able to start setting up from there, and eventually took the game. So game 2, where I dead draw completely, he sets up and gets the first Night Spear. I try to slow down his setup by hitting him with lasers, but unfortunately all I flipped were tails, and eventually Night Speared all my Sableyes and Trubbishes. There was no possible way that I could set up and win, so I scooped the game. So 3-1 and on to round 5, where I'm playing against TDK. So he wins the coin flip but lets me go first, so he can try and attack on turn 1 with Kyurem. So I go first, I cannot do anything, so I just do my usuals, Ultra Ball, Dark Patch, and I pass. And he manages to get a turn 1 Frost Sphere, which puts me in a ton of pressure. But the following turn I draw a laser, flip heads, and I manage to keep him asleep for 5 turns. And by the time he wakes up, his Kieran is knocked out, and I have a full setup, and I get to sweep the game from there. So game 2, this time he decides to go first, but unfortunately he starts off with a lone Deoxys and gets a bad hand, and a few turns later I eventually get the Dunk. So 4-1 and on to round 6, where I'm playing against Blastoise, Keldeo, Black Kyurem. So my opponent dead draws the first few turns. I manage to get set up and get off a few Night Spears, but my opponent makes a complete comeback with Black Kyurem's Black Ballista and takes all 6 of her prize cards and wins the game. So a little bit unfortunate there, considering I was way ahead on prize cards and she still managed to win, but it's all good, it's just a game and it was a lot of fun. So on to game 2, I go first, I set up really fast. She gets a slow start but starts making the comeback with Black Kyurem. So eventually time is called and I need to win this game in order to tie the game up, because she already won the first game. And I need to take 3 prize cards, so I think about how am I supposed to do this. I top deck my Pokemon catcher, my only Pokemon catcher I play. My opponent has a Keldeo EX on the bench with 110 damage on it. A Blastoise also. I catcher, flip heads, catch up the Blastoise, Night Spear 90 onto that, and 30 onto Keldeo with already 110 damage. So she is turn 1. She can't get the Keldeo out of the active position because I have the Garbodor lock, and she's out of Tool Scrappers. So she does her thing and passes. I Night Spear again, knocking out the Blastoise and knocking out the Keldeo also to take all 3 of my prize cards and take the games. So it was definitely a close game. If I did not flip heads on the catcher, she would have won and I probably would not have made cut. But thankfully I did and we tied the game, and I have to win the next round in order to make cut. So on to the final round, where my record currently is 4-1-1. I have to win this round to make it to cut, because to make cut you need 5-1-1 guarantee. So round 7 I'm against a mirror again, and I know my opponent is really good. We're actually pretty good friends, so it was kind of sad to know that one of us was not going to make cut, unfortunately. Okay, so on to game 1, where we both get set up fairly fast. My opponent plays more defensive and likes to junk hunt more, while I try to go for the offensive. Night Spear, take a few Sableyes off first, and eventually I do get ahead on prizes. He tried to play a few ends to get me down on cards, but off of every end I would always draw a supporter and refresh my hand again. So throughout the course of the game I do get more Night Spears off than he does, and at the end I knock out his final Darkrai, leaving him with nothing, and he just scoops the game. So that was really close, and on to game 2. So game 2, he chooses to go first. He dead draws a little bit. He tries to set up with a Sableye by junk hunting over and over again, but I knock out most of the Sableyes with my Darkrai, and time is called, and it's 2-5 on prizes in my favor. He cannot take enough prizes to win the game, so he scoops. So I do win the match because I did win the first game, and hooray, my final record was 5-1-1, and I made it to top 8. I finished 3rd seed at the end, and top 8 was happening on that same day, while top 4 was going to be on the next day if you made it through. So alright, we made top 8. So top 8, I'm against the same guy I played in round 1, Alexander Dade, and of course he's running Darkrai Garbodor. So game 1, he dead draws completely while I set up lightning fast. Eventually, I get so ahead on prizes that there's no possible way that he could win, so he scoops. So game 2, he goes first, but he dead draws again. I managed to get set up, get a few Night Spears. He eventually gets his first Night Spear off, but I've already knocked out so many things that I'm ahead on prizes. He tries to end, but of course I draw a supporter off of the end, and I managed to take the game from there, and I win. So hooray, I made it through top 8, and I'm on to top 4, which is going to be the next day. I get to go home, get a good night's sleep, and yeah, prepare for the next day. Top 4. So on to top 4, where I'm against Raybor. At first, I think this is going to be a really easy win, until somebody tells me that he plays 3 Tool Scrapper and a Dowsing Machine. Yeah. So I kind of get scared there, because 3 Tool Scrapper and a Dowsing Machine, that could make 4 Tool Scrappers. And if I don't get the lock set up against Raybor, Raybor can definitely get an advantage, because Dragon Burst just deals so much damage. It's unbelievable, it's crazy. So I have to get the lock set up, and I have to make sure that I only attach 1 tool at a time, because I only run 4 tool cards, and that is really bad since he runs 4 Tool Scrappers. Okay, so on to game 1, he gets to go first. Turn 1, he gets 3 Ultra Balls in the discard pile, and I think to myself, well, since he has 3 Ultra Balls in the discard pile, it's not going to be easy for him to get Emboar out. Which is actually true. Throughout the game, he had a really hard time getting his Ember out. I managed to get the lock. He did tool scrap pretty much every single tool, but without Ember, there was really nothing he could do. He finally manages to get out Ember at the end, but he's already discarded so many superior energy retrievals that he can't possibly attack, and I Night Spear for the game. Okay, so on to game 2. He gets to go first, and I dead draw so bad. It's probably the first time in the entire tournament that I actually dead drew. He sets up really quickly, and he always discards my Garbodor tools, so I cannot possibly get the lock. He Dragon Burst, and of course, during the middle of the game, I have to misplay in top 4, and I get a prize penalty. So this is what happens. I have a Frozen City in my hand, and Tropical Beach is in play. So I was thinking about Tropical Beach, and I was thinking if I played the Frozen City, I could draw one extra card with Tropical Beach. But of course, that's a fail, because if you play Frozen City, there is no Tropical Beach. So of course, I was probably just too stressed or too tired or something like that. I play the Frozen City and start Tropical Beaching. Of course, the judges catches me, and I get a prize penalty, unfortunately. Sad. Yeah, so tip of the day number 2, don't beach if there is no beach. Okay, so at the end of the game, he manages to get really ahead on prizes, and even if I had not Tropical Beach, I probably would not have won, considering I dead drew so bad during the beginning of the match, and he managed to take game 2. Okay, so now time is called, and it is sudden death, 1 prize each. And of course he gets to go first because he wins the coin flip, and both of us dead draws because we end each other down. There's probably been like 6 ends played the entire sudden death, 5 or 6 ends, maybe even 7. But off of all the ends he plays and I play, he always gets something good and I would never get something good. Once I did get a Skyla, I Skylaed for a random receiver and put it in the discard just so I can junk on for it whenever needed. But of course, whenever I would get a Juniper, he would always end me back off, and I would lose my random receiver, and then he eventually got set up while I had nothing. I tried to get off a Garbodor lock by setting up, but he had the Tool Scrapper, and he had a really big hand, so next turn, he could Tool Scrapper and knock out my Sableye for a game. So I did lose at the end, but at the end of the tournament, I managed to get third again. Same as Swiss, so it didn't really matter. So there's me, right there, third, highlighted. In case you guys don't know who I am, there I am. So that is my tournament report for Winter Regionals. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This was a lot of fun to make this video. I know it's a bit late. I apologize for that. I've just been sick. It just got better. But yeah, this is my second regionals ever, so I'm definitely happy that I made top cut. I'm not sad that I lost in top 4. Definitely not. My opponent was a really great player, and he actually eventually won the entire tournament. Actually, eventually. So that is going to be the end of this video. I know I've probably missed something. In fact, I've probably missed something really big. But don't hate me, guys. I apologize. I'm actually in a rush to make this and get it out. I actually haven't uploaded anything in quite a while now. Apologies for that. Just that I've been sick after regionals, and it's just nasty. Probably all the regional stress and the top cut stress, especially sudden death. That was actually pretty stressful. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this tournament report. Don't forget to leave your comments down below. Tell me how you guys did, if you guys went. And I'll see you guys next time.